It seems like you can't confound the audience much anymore, and it's more. And I wonder whether it's that you have to almost placate the network and assure them that the audience can follow what you're doing and will go for this ride. Do you?
Well, it's interesting because it's a genre show. There is a fear that the audience is not, I think intelligent enough is unfair. But if we were doing ER certainly you tune in and you figure out fairly quickly that, oh, so-and-so is dating her and so-and-so just lost their child. And yet there's a body that comes into the hospital. So you can sort of get engaged in the story of the week and you can figure out fairly quickly the relationships. And there's a comfort because, oh, I know what a hospital show is. But when you're telling a show that's more genre specific, there's a fear that is going to be harder to understand. And our challenge is that, the truth is it's not that hard to understand. It's just character relationships. We intend to make them trackable, and so that you can tune in and figure out pretty quickly, oh, so-and-so does this, and they feel this way about whoever else, and Walter's crazy. And yet here's the story, and here's the case. And some cases, have started in an earlier episode, and they're paying off now, and come on in the tent. Enjoy the show.
I'm always interested when a show starts up and actors are given that first script, and no matter how much you may feel that you're in very experienced hands, you want to get a fix on your character. And I would like to ask each of you in turn kind of what your first reaction was when you read the script, and whether you were able to gain purchase quickly on what your character was going to be, or did you have initial worries about that? Anna, would you mind answering that first?
I think with the first script, the pilot, the story was so clear and so concise, and I found it easy to sort of track Olivia's journey through it. And then, so the Olivia that you meet at the very beginning of that particular episode and the Olivia that you meet at the end are two kind of very different people. And so I found that tracking her from the end of the pilot through this first season has been sort of like much harder than that original story, because that was sort of like, that was her getting thrown into the world that we're now living in.
Right. Yeah, because it struck me as just as a viewer watching the pilot was, this is a very professional woman, and the way women are presented in any kind of pop culture entertainment is, if you're a professional woman doing her job, you're cold initially, and until you have a romantic scene or something, that it's a very kind of ingrained sexist stereotyping.
Right. And we flipped it.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and it's we really did, and I think that we flipped a lot of things, actually, in the character of Olivia, and I thank you, boys, for that, too, because it's never hit on the head. It's just very quietly flipped.
Yes, and they're not only different sides of you just in terms of showing that you had a lover or whatever, but the relationship with your sister, with you as an aunt, those are unique situations in primetime television now. I think it's very interesting, and I wonder if it's interesting for you to play those.
Absolutely. And I was talking to Jeff today particularly about the sister too. I especially love in an episode they aired a little while ago in Bound, when we actually first met the sister. That was so fun because Olivia had been just working so hard and had been so focused and so serious and so straight, and all of a sudden you literally see her walk down a corridor, and within a second she this smile comes on, and it's her sister and her little niece, and how are you, and I love you, and I'll see you later. She gets in the lift and it's down again. And those little bits, that's like, they're beautiful payoffs, and they mean that you can kind of hold steadfast to the serious and focused, woman at work.
She's Australian.
I know, right?
How cool is that? Sorry.
It's okay. I'm not the only one.
I know, I was going to do that later.
I forget that, though. Sometimes I do speak to people and they'll sort of look like that for a minute and I realize that they don't understand.
Well, I kind of think of your character as almost the conscience of the show, which may sound odd in the sense that you're presented as this guy with a shady past, you're a kind of a con man, but you're really the guy in the show who sort of makes people stop. And whereas Olivia's like all about busting down the door,
right.
Whereas your father is like, let me at the blood and the knife, you're the one who kind of holds things back. Yes, you make the wry, sarcastic comment, but that's not your sole purpose. And I wondered how you looked upon the role.
Well, honestly, I always thought that Olivia was more the moral compass of the show. But it's interesting that you say that. I don't think Peter is a moral character himself. But I think because he's immoral, he's able to stand back and point out the fact that people are acting poorly.
Right.
So yeah, that's an interesting idea. I'd never really thought of Peter as a moral compass because he doesn't really engage on a moral level. I don't think he's particularly concerned about the immorality, the bad behavior of Walter or the ethical transgressions that he makes, but he certainly is the one who points out that we're living in this really just absurdist world.
Right. You're at once kind of our point of view as the audience. You're our way into it because we're not FBI agents and we're not genius scientists.
Right. That I do agree with you. I think Peter is quite often, one, he's a release valve a lot of the time.
Right.
He's, the situations build up and build up and build up and build up, and he's the guy who puts the pin in it. So I think, guys, that we as an audience can also take a deep breath and go, okay, Act 2. And then, yeah, I think he's the cipher, I guess. I mean, he's the one who stands back and watches this world, if that's fair.
Canadian.
In a word, Canadian.